Hello everyone. Sorry, it took me a little bit to get on here. I thought I was going to be able to do this actually on my computer, which would have been a lot better, but I've had to set up my phone here. So, another typical Facebook thing that you expect to work and doesn't. Just gonna make sure I'm actually live in the group here. I see I appear to be live, I think. Let's see. Oh, yes, I see myself. Awesome. Okay. So tonight I wanted to just kind of give an introduction to this whole process, give you a little bit of a background around how I got into this, who I am, because there's a lot of new people in this group that I don't know. So my name is Sherry Rothwell, and I'm a holistic nutritionist and super passionate about helping people take their health into their own hands. And one of the things that I've done all through my adult life is explore different things that you can do to increase your health. So I've always been very adventurous when it comes to exploring new approaches to optimizing health. And in my early 30s, I decided I was going to try this thing called a gallstone flush. It was based on Andreas Morowitz's book called The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush. And I followed it to a T in my early 30s. And it actually had the approach of using apple juice because there's an ingredient in apples called malic acid that actually dissolves stones. And I didn't do it because I had necessarily symptoms of gallstones. It's just that I am someone who's always curious about trying new things and optimizing my health. So I didn't really know anything about sugar and the effects on the body in terms of it coming through fruit or, through carbohydrates, etc. So I thought nothing of drinking a liter of apple juice every single day because that's the approach that's in the book. And I did my first flush and it was very successful. I was very surprised. At that point, he had said that if you're over the age of 30, you're likely to have stones. In his revised book, he said that 20-year-olds have stones at this point. So I just did it because I was like, well, why would I want to have stones in my body? If they're there, it would be better to have them out. So that very first flush, the stones that came out were like this big and they were hard. They look like if you go onto Google and you search images, gallstones, and they show like an actual gallbladder removed and they show the stones in it. Those were how my stones looked the very first time I did it the original way, which is to use apple juice. And they were hard. Like I made jokes about that they were pretty and they were like green with like some brown and like swirls in them. And they looked like you could make jewelry out of them. I absolutely regret not keeping those because they were just so shocking and so different compared to what I'm experiencing now. So here's the problem with the apple juice. I, at the end of that week, ended up with a dental infection. I literally had a tooth get infected and become so infected that it was actually like it opened in my mouth. And I was told I should get a root canal. And now I'm not saying that this 1 week of apple juice caused that. Clearly I had something like going on, but it was the sugar in the apple juice that actually made the pot boil over to the point that I got the infection. And then this need for a root canal. So I kind of attributed the gallstone flush with triggering that. And I thought it was something to do with the flushing, not the sugar in the apple juice. So even though it's recommended that you do the flush once every 3 to 4 weeks until you don't see any stones, I wasn't ready to do it again. I was just too scared because I was like, oh no, what if I get another abscess tooth? Okay, so years later, I become very conscious of the fact that even though fruit is natural, it's really high in sugar. So now, looking back on it, I know why, right? But it literally took me almost 20 years to get back to it because of this fear of the sugar. So recently I was teaching one of my classes at CSNN, the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, where I teach. And I mentioned this gallbladder flush to my students. It's not part of the curriculum, that CSNN doesn't promote this. But I mentioned things that are of interest to me and that I've experienced with in the class. So I was talking about this experience, and one of the students, she actually went home that week and did the flush. And then she came back to class really excited and wanted to thank me because she had done this gallstone flush, released the stones, and instantly got relief from her seasonal allergies. And so because of that, I was like, oh, wow, like maybe I should do this again. So I started doing it, 4 months ago. So I just finished my 4th in a row flush this year. So now I went from doing it once to now being ready to do it till I get to the end of the flush where I have no stones. So I'm 4 flushes in, and what's really interesting is that I've got way more stones coming out now than I originally had at the first flush that I did this year. So for those of you who've maybe tried this before and you didn't get much results, don't assume that it means that you're not going to get results later. Now, one of the reasons why I may be getting more is because if you don't have them in your gallbladder, you're likely to have them in your liver. So I have a feeling that because I actually eat a lot of fat, I'm always stimulating my gallbladder to release bile. So I don't have sluggish gall, like my gallbladder is not sluggish because I'm constantly using it and constantly stimulating fat, or the flow of bile, because I eat a lot of fat. In order to stimulate the flow of bile, you need to eat fat and you need to eat protein. And this is one of the myths out there about stones, is that you should avoid protein. But that's not true, actually. You do need fat and protein to stimulate that bile. If you don't eat fat and you don't eat a lot of protein, you're going to have more stones and they're going to be bigger. So when I was in my 30s, I had just been a vegetarian for 13 years. And so I had a relatively low fat diet, although I wasn't trying to be low fat, but my protein was really low, and I had like way more intense stones at 30 than I did now at this point. So I'm thinking that because my gallbladder was probably didn't have stones in it, the first few flushes, I didn't have much come out. But now this 4th flush, a lot more came out. So I know that it's actually because it's pulling stones out of my liver. Another thing is, it was the full moon. So the way that the energy works with the moon is it actually pulls on the water bodies, like the bodies of water, like the ocean, and also inside our body, it pulls on our inner bodies of water. So I think that might have affected it as well. But I'm just giving you like the physiology of it so you can understand that there's a variation in how it might play out depending on when you do it, and depending on your situation. So if you're like me and you didn't have symptoms of gallstones in the first place, and maybe you've never had a low protein diet, you've never had a low fat diet, you might not get that much out the first time. So anyways, I have no idea what's going to happen next. I thought last time was going to be like the time before this was going to be my last time. And, anyways. So what is the purpose of doing this? Well, there are so many, besides just attaining optimal health, besides that, if you have stones in your body, why would you not just want to get them out? Because it's basically, those stones are taking up space in your gallbladder. Your gallbladder does not produce bile, it stores bile. So your body's always putting that bile in your gallbladder so that it's ready for the next time you have a meal with fat in it. And if it's full of stones, you're not going to be able to hold that much bile in there. And then when you do eat, you're not going to have that much bile getting on that bolus of food, which means you're not going to optimally digest that food and assimilate that fat. And fat is so important for so many different things in your body. Not to mention that your liver is involved in like over 400 to 500 different processes in your body. So basically the health of your liver affects pretty much everything that's going on in your body. So if you have any trouble with digesting fat, there's a very good chance that it's due to this issue. And basically, if you're over the age of 20, then you're very likely to have these stones anyways, regardless of whether you have any symptoms. You don't want to wait until you have symptoms, because by the time you actually have symptoms and you're getting things like gallbladder attacks, it's painful, uncomfortable, and then you're going to have a lot more fear and concern around this issue, because now you're going to be having medical doctors and involved, and you have like a bona fide like pathology that you've been diagnosed with. So better to deal with it preventatively. So anyways, if you have, I can't really say to you what the results are going to be. It's one of those things where you have to experience it and then allow your body to, function optimally, function better. And then automatically, when your liver is optimized, because it's touching so many different things in your body, you just never know what benefits that you're going to experience from doing a flush. Also, one of the things I've seen out there is that people have said, well, I did a flush and I felt so much better, but then all my symptoms came back. And the reason why, again, is because that makes actually physiological sense. If you don't do the flush as many times as you need to do it to get all of the stones out of your gallbladder and your liver, then what happens is when those stones are out of your gallbladder, the liver ones come forward. Now you have a gallbladder that's congested again, so your symptoms come back. So it's really important to not just do it once. So that is, a key issue here. So let's say you just do it once and that happens to you, your symptoms come back. Then you want to recommit to doing it every 3 to 4 weeks until they're all gone. And then you might want to consider doing it once a year after that. But of course, in the meantime, you do want to change your diet and lifestyle to make yourself less susceptible to stones in the first place. So that's really important. It's basically as simple as, eating a whole foods diet would be, your first step along the way. And then doing whatever needs to be done to get your liver in tip-top shape. And that might require, specific liver cleanses. But in particular, doing this before you invest a lot of time and energy in a liver cleanse makes sense, because you're getting something out of your liver that's congesting it. And then when you do that, then when you give your liver what it needs, the nutrients it needs, and stop bombarding it with things that are toxic, then it just does what it is naturally designed to do. You don't need to have anything really special to cleanse. Your liver is always cleansing, but if it doesn't have the resources to do that, or if it's constantly being exposed to things that are toxic, like fats, for example, from processed vegetables or seed oils, then you're basically impeding its ability to do what it's naturally already doing. So our body's designed to keep us healthy and wants to be healthy, and it's just a matter of getting out of the way the things that are in the way, whether that's something physical, like a physical toxin. It can even be energy. It can be blockages in your energy system that are impeding that organ, for example, your liver or your gallbladder, which are connected to holding frustration and anger. So you can help your liver even just by identifying the areas where you're feeling anger and frustration and doing the work to release those emotions from your body. And then you might also find, as you're working on your liver and your gallbladder health, that you're stimulating things, right? So like you may have something repressed that you're not aware of, and then as you're doing the cleanse, those things will come up for you to heal. So you can go both ways, right? Like you're dealing with something physical will help your emotions, and also working at the emotional level helps the physical body by eliminating the energetic blocks. In my first flush that I did in this series, not the one I did in my 30s, but the one I just did 4 months ago, I noticed immediately that literally faces of people that I was holding frustration and anger towards were literally coming up in my mind as I was sitting there being present with my liver gallbladder. So I can attest to that being a real thing. Let's see what else is there. Just to let you know, if you have any questions at all as I'm going along here, feel free to ask them as we go. I know one of the things that people ask about is, does it hurt? that is a big question. I have never experienced any pain during the liver or gallbladder flush. And even the first time when I did it and my stones were much bigger and really hard, I also felt nothing. So you shouldn't really feel too much. Like, you do feel something, but I would not call it pain. It's almost like you just feel like you can feel something's happening in that area of your body, right? Like where your liver is. And almost like a dropping. I feel like I can feel the stones drop. Like I feel a dropping sensation, but that's all. One of the reasons why probably is because it's different than if a person has this issue and they're getting a gallbladder attack, right? In that case, it's not like they've done anything to soften the stones or to get the bile ducts relaxed and open, right? So that's the difference. So if you're having a gallbladder attack, it's just happening and you don't expect it, and you have not done anything to get your bile duct to relax, and you haven't done anything to shrink the stones, right? So that makes sense why that would hurt. But in this case, there's a lot that we do leading up to it to make the stone smaller and softer and to get the bile duct relaxed. So it should not hurt. Let's see if there's anything else that people ask. Oh, where do they go? Like, how do they get out of your body? So basically what happens is they go through the bile duct into your small intestine, then into your colon, and then you eliminate them through your stool. So that's how they get out. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through what it's like to do a gallstone flush in terms of like what are the particulars and what do you need to have on hand to make this happen in a way that is safe and comfortable. So I have everything here to explain to you and show you what everything is for. And again, please feel to ask any questions in case there's something that, doesn't come through clear. Okay. So the first thing is that you need to get your stones soft. And in order to get them soft, you have to have something that has malic acid in it. So that is why the original flush is made with, done with apple juice, because there's malic acid in the peels of apples. So you basically just drink apple juice every day. And then that chemical, that's a natural chemical constituent of apples, just slowly dissolves them and makes them softer, so that by the time you do the flush, you have a stone that's smaller and softer. So what I actually have done this time around is used a herb called chanca piedra. So if you want to do the flush, whether you want to join us in September or sometime in the future, it's great to start this right away, because this herb is called the stone crusher. Also, if you have a history of kidney issues, like let's say you have like pain in your mid back, or you've had kidney stones, then this would be doubly helpful for you, because it works on all stones. It's going to work on gallstones and kidney stones. So that's really awesome. Or if you have any other symptoms of kidney, of irritation in any way. Now, there may be other issues, like if you have a bona fide diagnosis of some sort of medical health problem, then you need to actually communicate about this with your medical doctor, because I don't know you and I don't know your personal situation. Okay, so that's important to note if you're on any medication, etc. If you go to I'll post the sales page for the gallbladder flush guide that I created. And I have a whole bunch of different things on that page, like facts about like who should do this, is it safe, so that you can scroll through that and determine whether it's actually right for you based on like your health situation. Pretty much if you're on any medication, you shouldn't be doing it. The only medication that is, been proven to be fine is thyroid medication. Okay, so that's, you'd probably want to do something else. So right now I'm actually creating a gallbladder flush mini protocol that is for supporting liver and gallbladder health that doesn't involve the flushing. Okay, so if you have a condition that you've been diagnosed of some sort of pathology, or you're afraid to flush, then I would just wait for that to come out so I can give you a protocol to do that doesn't involve flushing, that you won't be afraid of, and your medical doctor will probably be less resistant to, because this is not like an accepted practice in modern medicine. I mean, I don't even hear usually like naturopaths or other nutritionists recommending it, or herbalists or anyone recommending it. This is very like obscure. So you're probably never going to hear about it unless it's somebody who's done it themselves. Okay. But if you want that extra assurance, the Chanca Piedra, you can take this at minimum 12 weeks. Like if you're worried, I would take this for 12 weeks before you even flush, because then you have a lot of this, like their stones have been broken down a lot more, so that you have that assurance and you're not afraid. So theoretically, there is a theoretical risk that you could have a stone get stuck in your bile duct. So that is what people are afraid of. I honestly don't think that it's something that's likely to happen, but it is possible, right? Like that's reality. I don't know if you, you know, how big your stones are. I don't know, you know, if you had like some sort of like defect or something in like your liver or gallbladder, right? Like there's all these different things that like you have to like really be willing to take your health into your own hands, and feel confident and not afraid. That's all I'm saying. I'm not afraid. I don't think it's like dangerous or anything like that, but I also don't want to, you know, come on here and say that what I'm saying is relevant to your personal situation. So I just want to make that disclaimer. If you have any fears at all, just don't do it. There's many other ways to break down your gallstones. Okay, so this is what you would start with, the 12 weeks. The first flush that I did, I just took it, or the original first flush that I did in my 30s, I didn't use this at all. I just used the apple juice and it was fine. And I had huge hard stones and I still had no pain and there was no obstruction. Okay. So now I'm 48. I did the first flush I did this year. I took this for 7 days. I have not taken it since. Just because I know already from what's been coming out that I'm not worried about the size. So I just haven't. I did it the first 7 days because I wanted to test it out, see what it was like, see if it made any difference, see if I could feel anything in my body. What I do think is that it really softens the stone. That is the part of it that I think was quite effective, because the first flush that I did with no Chanca Piedra in my 30s, the stones are so hard. So, you know, that's what I think. But at the end of the day, just, you know, the extra assurance is a good thing. But you can, again, take it longer. The 12 weeks would be ideal. So there you go. You have that. Now the next thing is leading up to the flush. So the flush is like a 5-day process. No, a 7-day process. Monday to Sunday. So on a Monday, you're going to start eating really clean. This week, you're going to eat you're going to kind of try to keep your protein moderate and your fat lower. And the reason why is if your gallbladder is congested and you're not holding that much bile, then you probably you're not producing enough bile, because your body thinks that just assumes it doesn't need to, because you don't eat a lot of fat, or you don't have a lot of room in your gallbladder, so you're not going to have a lot of bile. And you want to have that bile sort of stored up by the Saturday when you do the flush, so you have it there to flush the stones out. So you don't have to count your fats or count your protein or anything like that. Just eat clean, and don't just have copious amounts of fat, basically. Probably what you're doing now is fine. On the opposite hand, I eat so much fat that I actually have to remind myself, I should probably, not be overdoing my use of bile, because I eat a lot of butter and a lot of whipping cream. But that's just me. So what you need is something with malic acid in it. So you can either buy malic acid straight off of Amazon, or wine stores carry it. It just looks like a white powder. It's extracted from like fruits. The peel of fruits is where it's highly concentrated. So you can literally just put that in a glass of water, and it's refreshing, and it tastes like the taste of a green apple peel. Now, the first time I did the flush at the beginning of this 4-session flush that I've had so far, I actually used apple cider vinegar and cranberry juice. Okay. Now, it was springtime, and it's liver season, right? In springtime. So the body just loves this. So my body was happy with it. It was fine to have like apple cider vinegar and cranberry juice. I made this drink. So I did the calculations on it to make sure I was getting enough malic acid between the two. And I even actually made a drink that was even more malic acid than was required based on like the original protocol. So I had the extra assurance there as well. And it was great. I liked it. I put stevia in it, and then you just sip it all day, right? Like you don't swig it back. You sip it so you're constantly kind of dripping through your liver these acids to start making these stones shrink down. So that's what I did. That was fine. The second time, the idea of drinking this was just not cool. I didn't like it. It started to get hot out. Okay, so my body was in resistance to this sour stuff, which produces heat in the body. So then I went straight to the malic acid that week. It was beautiful. It was fine. The malic acid was fine. And then the summer got even hotter. And then suddenly I was like, I don't want even the malic acid. That's also too much acid, and it's going to make me hot. So I actually just did infusion of chamomile. So besides Chanca Piedra, there are other herbs that have the ability to help break stones down. So chamomile is one of them. In my guidebook, which you can get somewhere in the group here, like I said, I'll post it later. It's just $27. I put together everything you need to know to do this with alternatives to all of these things in case you're allergic or you don't like the flavor. There's lots of different variations. And all the dosages are in there. I don't have them memorized, so I can't really tell you. Okay, so you're going to want to choose something. So how did I do I can tell you the dose of the chamomile because I just did it recently. I know exactly what it is. 4 tea bags of chamomile infusion. You don't want to use a tea because teas are not as therapeutic as infusions. So an infusion means that you pour hot boiling water on the herbs overnight, and then I sip that all through the day. So the last 2 flushes I did chamomile, and that was fine, and I got amazing results again. And like I said, I feel like my results are getting better every time. So that's all you need till Saturday. So Monday to Saturday, you're just going to eat clean, try to not overeat fat. And then at 1 o'clock on Saturday, you're going to stop eating. So you're going to you want to kind of create your system to be kind of empty when you do your flush. So you will eat nothing after 1 on the Saturday. And then at 5 o'clock, you're going to take some magnesium citrate. Okay, this is another change that I made to his protocol. In the original protocol, you take Epsom salts the evening and the next morning. And what that does is it is very irritating, and it'll basically make your butthole sore the next day from the diarrhea that you're going to get. That's super acidic from the Epsom salts. So I'm not recommending that to people because it's so uncomfortable. And I want to make this so comfortable for you that you're willing to do it again in 3 weeks, right? So that's one of the problems with it. It's like, imagine doing apple juice for like a week every 3 weeks, and then, taking Epsom salts and your butt's getting sore and raw, and then you have to drink this drink that is like, makes you want to gag, right? Like, not doable. So over the last 4 flushes, I've been basically changing the protocol and testing things and making it so that you have no aversion to doing this, okay? It's really easy in comparison to the original flush. So you'll take this at 5. What you're doing is you're using the magnesium to relax your bile duct. So, but you're also trying to stimulate a bowel movement, because before you take the flush drink, you want to have 1 bowel movement before bed. So, or before you take the flush drink. So you're going to take it at 5, and then you're going to take it at 6. And if you take it at 7 and then you don't have a bowel movement, then you're going to want to take an enema. Okay, so my personal constitution, I have a tendency towards constipation, so I always have to take the enema. at before I take the flush drink. So this is I have like a stainless steel enema bucket. Okay, you don't have to get, these are, you know, quite expensive, but if you're planning to do these and you don't want to put, you know, water in a plastic thing and stick that in your butt, then this is good because stainless steel is not going to be leaching anything into your body. So all you do is you put, like I basically boil water on the stove, then I add some cool water to it, put my hand in it. I'm like, is this comfortable? Does this feel like a warm bath, basically? And if it feels like a nice warm bath, then you just put it in here. You take this, it has a special end that you can insert into your anus. You put coconut oil on it so that it slips in easily. And then you just lie down on the floor. You have this like high up. I just put it on my bathroom counter. And then you just like, it has this clamp on it, you can see here. So before you put it inside of yourself, you're gonna clamp it because you don't want suddenly all this water to start coming into you fast. So this allows you to like take the speed of it, you know, how much you can tolerate. If you've never done an enema before, you might wanna immediately let it out because you've never done it before and your natural urge is going to be to want to release it. So it can take some, like I know for me, the first time I did it, I did do it in my 30s as well, but I hadn't done an enema since then. So I did like immediately have to get up and go to the bathroom and then then insert it again. It's like your body has to be like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay. And the more you do it, the more familiar and comfortable it becomes. Don't expect the first time you do an enema for you to feel like, you know, you've mastered it and it's not uncomplicated. Like it does feel like anything. If you've never done it before, there's a learning curve. It's harder in the beginning, but once you've done it, like your third or fourth flush, it's not going to be a big deal. But, you know, I think that's one of the things that people probably have the biggest aversion to. Of course, if you do the Epsom salts, it might be because it's more abrasive, you might not need it, but I still did, honestly, the first time. I still needed to use an enema. So there you have it. Basically, you're getting your bowels empty so that when you do have the stones come down into your colon the next day, that it's easy to get them out and that you're not backed up, okay? That is another contraindication for flushing is if you have chronic constipation, that you have no way of getting things going, then you're not ready for this. You want to work on getting your constipation under control. So there's a lot of different things that you can do for constipation. But if you have a tendency towards it like me, then you're going to have to use this enema. But you're going to want to get one anyways because you want to do an enema after the flush as well. Okay, let's see what else. So you do the enema, then you make your flush drink. And all you need for your flush drink is some grapefruit and some olive oil. Okay. So here's another little thing that I did. And I was scared to do it the first time because I was like, oh no, what if I'm like gonna like wreck it, it's not gonna work or something. But I just had this thought, like something told me to blend this before drinking it. So normally what most recipes will tell you is just like juice the grapefruit juice, take the olive oil, just mix it in a glass and swig it back as fast as you can. Now we all know that like that is going to give you like a gag reflex and like you're going to feel nauseous because we don't normally just drink olive oil, right? So I've heard from people before that the idea of doing it again is just awful because they got nauseous from drinking olive oil, right? Like you can understand why a person, because basically you're taking 3/4 of a cup, like you're juicing 3/4 of a cup of grapefruit and you're drinking a half a cup of olive oil with it, right? So yuck, it's just yuck. Ugh. You can taste the olive oil, you can feel the texture. It's gonna, the likelihood of experiencing nausea is high. So I remember when I did my first one, I do remember feeling some, like not this year, but way back in my 30s, I do remember feeling some nausea and I had to sit. I remember having to be so still because one of the things in my body anyways is if I'm nauseous, moving makes it worse, right? So I do remember that feeling. At that time, I believe it passed within, an hour. But so now I've done 4 of them. Not the last one, but the time before, I felt a slight bit of nausea. But other than that, I felt last time I released the most stones, I felt no nausea at all. It was my fourth time doing it. So when you put these together in a blender and emulsify them, they actually mix, right? So when you mix an oil with a juice, what you get is something that is like a texture of a cream. So to me, this is a grapefruit cream smoothie, and I actually look forward to it. Like, I do not dread it at all. I love that taste. So to me, that's a game changer, because, anytime there's something that you have to do, that is going to make you feel gross, then of course you're not going to want to do it 3 weeks later, right? So that is my secret to making the drink go down in a way that is not going to cause you to feel nauseous. Now, you may feel some nausea, not because of the taste, but because of congestion, right? So this does take a lot of work for your liver to do this process. So one of the signs that you have that your liver is working hard or feeling stressed is nausea, right? If you have a hangover, for example, what do you get with it? Nausea. Anytime you experience nausea in your body, that feeling of nausea is connected to your liver. So it's not going to be totally unlikely, especially if you have symptoms already of like malabsorption and difficulty digesting fat, then you're probably more likely to have some feelings of nausea, but they do pass. Now, all you have to do is sit still for 20 minutes after you have taken this drink. So, and there are some things that you can take to put beside your bed in case you feel nauseous. If after 20 minutes you feel nauseous, you can swig back some kombucha or a shot of apple cider vinegar, and that will help to relieve that nausea. So that is some extra assurance. The first time I did it 4 months ago, I did put the kombucha by my bed just in case, but then after, because it's just nothing, and the one time I felt a tiny bit of nausea, it was so little that I just not even bothering to put that by my bed. But especially if it's your first time, I would definitely do that. So you take the drink to your bed and you put a bunch of pillows down so that you're slightly elevated, and then you swig back the drink and you just lie still for 20 minutes. And in that 20 minutes, you just want to focus your attention and your breath on your liver. So just the way you would if you were going to a yoga class and the yoga instructor said to you, bring your breath and awareness to your belly. You do the exact same thing, but you bring your breath and awareness to your liver and your gallbladder, right? So that's on the right-hand side of your body underneath your breast. And just be calm and just give gratitude to that organ and just let it do its thing. And it takes 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, you will have passed all the stones. So then your only job is to go to sleep. If you need to turn onto your side after 20 minutes, you can do that, or you can just stay lying down on your back and just fall asleep. In the morning, you can sometimes feel a little bit dehydrated. That's what I notice. I feel like just a little bit of a that like if you have a tinge of a hangover, again, that's a liver symptom, right? So your liver worked hard the night before. So if you feel a little bit of a weird hangover-y kind of feeling, that wouldn't be unusual. But then what you're going to have to do is drink Epsom salts, because you're going to have to literally stimulate diarrhea. You need to have diarrhea in order to get everything moving through you, and so that you can actually see those stones when they come out. Because it's dehydrating to drink your Epsom salts, then you want to get up and take a large glass of water and let that go through you, get some hydration, wait 10 minutes. Then you take a tablespoon of Epsom salts and 3/4 cup of water. And then you will drink that, and then you'll wait an hour, and then you drink it again, and then you may drink it a third time. Basically, it'd probably take 2 or 3 times. Just depends again on the person to get that diarrhea happening. And then what you do is you put a sieve on your toilet so that it can catch the stones. So what is going to happen is you're not probably going to have like so watery diarrhea. You're going to have some like you're going to see your stool there. It's going to be like, I don't know, like what would be the texture that I would describe it? Like soupy, like a blended soup. And you'll see the stones kind of on top or in it. So what you do is you take cold water from your sink and then you just pour it on the stool, and then it'll start going through the sieve, but the stones will stay on top. And then you can see the stones that have come out. Now, everybody's going to have different stones. It depends on what they're made of. So basically they'll have different colors depending so usually it's like white or black or red or like greenish stones. If there's like more cholesterol, then they're going to be like more yellowy green. If there's just more bile, then it's going to be more like green. And then you can have there's another pigment in your bile, bilirubin, that creates a like reddish color, I think. Maybe that's a green one, I'm not sure. But anyways, red is not uncommon either. So it could be anything that you see. So, and black even, right? Like really congested bile, toxic bile can be black, right? So you can have all shades of green based on how much that bile is toxic, right? So, don't worry about it. Just be happy that it's out of your system. So one of the things is that if you have the proper ingredients and things like chanca piedra that's breaking the stones down, when they're covered in cholesterol is like more of a waxy substance, right? So you're not always going to have like a actual like hard stone like I had in my 30s. So what I've been having now with all these stone crushers and the chanca piedra and the malic acid that's in these beverages, everything has been soft on the outside. So on the outside, that is likely to be mostly cholesterol mixed in there. And then you can get white chunks, which will be like calcium deposits, right? Like calcium is white. And then inside these soft things, like when they come out, they'll like, you can squish them. Inside, you'll find actual hard stones that look like gravel. Okay, so those are likely what comes up on your medical tests, like ultrasounds and stuff like that. So, because it doesn't make sense, right? Because you're like, oh, I have one centimeter stone, but then when you like see what comes out, the stones that are coming out are way bigger than that, right? That they're not necessarily showing up on these ultrasounds because they're not like hard substances. They're like soft, like, it's just not hard. So just you I don't know what you're going to experience. The first time I did it, it was like a gelatinous substance. Like I had only a few of those. Like if you go back on this Facebook group and you'll see the stones from my first flush, and they are like glowing, soft, gelatinous green. Now, to be honest with you, I didn't actually like take those apart. I was just like, oh, look, I hardly have any stones. I was like, oh, guess what? I hardly have any stones. And I thought it was so weird, right? Because I was like, oh, I'm so much older. I would have expected that I had more stones than when I was younger in my early 30s. But even my last flush where I had the most stones was still not as much as my first one. And I think it does have something to do with the fact that at that point I was a vegetarian on a low-fat, low-protein diet. Plus, I had 20 years being on this, of those 30-something years, being on the standard North American diet until I became health conscious in my early 20s, right? Whereas from the flush from when I was 33 till now, I've been health conscious the whole time. So, you're going to have a different experience. But I really thought that I was going to have, after that first flush, I was like, oh, by the second flush, I'll have nothing. But again, I believe that the reason I'm having more now is because I've got those liver stones coming out, which are also bigger than the ones that are, that pile up in the gallbladder. So lots of different things that you can see that can come out. But I don't know, like people are afraid of it and think it's scary. I don't know. I just find it interesting, to be honest with you. Like, I'd rather have stones out of my body than in my body, right? So, and I think most people, when you like see the ingredients, and you hear the play-by-play of it, it's not as scary maybe as it might sound, right? And at the end of the day, like, really, like, it's like some food. You're eating some food, and this amazing thing happens. Like, food is medicine, right? Does this amazing thing in your body, and your body is so smart. It knows what to do with these things. Like, it just does what it does. And I wanted to mention that you can actually take apple juice. Let's say you want to do this, but for whatever reason you can't use these things, and you had to use the apple juice, but you don't want the sugar. You can actually use kefir water to take the sugar out of your juices. So this is cranberry juice. It's one of the alternatives that you can use, or you can mix it. And the first week when we did it with the apple cider vinegar and this, like, I'm not used to eating sugar. Like, I just don't eat sugar. So even though this is a low sugar fruit, there's still a lot of sugar in cranberry. Like, it's carbohydrate, right? And I like notice a lot of like plaque on my teeth, which I'm not used to having because I don't eat sugar, and I did not enjoy that at all. So you could take kefir water, you'd go half juice, half kefir water, and let it sit on your counter for a few days, and the kefir will actually eat the sugar out of it. So that's another thing that you could consider trying. And then at the end of the day, you could just actually add these like kefirized juices of apple juice and cranberry juice as an extra thing that you're just adding to your week of stone crushing herbs and foods. And I wanted to show you, I don't know if I'll show up too on the screen. I did have a video where I showed it in more detail, but here's some of the stones that have been collected from the, like the gravelly stones that I was mentioning. You can see there's different colors in here. There's black, there's like more white, there's, I don't know, like more brown colors in here. Okay. So if you ever see on the internet, there's a lot of people like saying, oh, this is not real. Like, oh, it's just, this is what happens when you drink olive oil. It makes these bile stones. You can clearly see those are real stones. Those are not like soft bile, gelatinous, whatever things that people say about this cleanse. And it makes me sad because people get turned off from doing something that could help them due to like myths that are out there. Yeah. So anyways, honestly, I'm keeping them. And, you know, if you happen to live in close to me and you want to do your flush and then keep your stones and give them to me so I can add them to my collection of proof that this is a real stone flush, feel free to do that. Yeah. Anyways, I enjoy doing the experiment, right? Like making an experiment of your own body and exploring it and being adventurous to see, you know, what you can do to work with your body to help it heal itself, right? Like, how else is your body going to be able to get those stones out unless you actively do something to support your body to be able to do that? It's not going to just happen on its own. But like I said, there are other things you can do. It's not going to be as quickly, but that you can slowly start to break these stones down. And, you know, better to have them smaller than to have them big. So even if you don't flush them completely, but you start breaking them down, making them smaller, you're still going to have more bile in your gallbladder, which will help with your fat digestion and absorption. So there you have it. That's basically like what you do that day. You're going to feel like you underwent some kind of like surgery. Like you will feel this sense of a bit of weakenedness, right? Like if you're just hanging around the house, you might not notice it as much, but let's say you like get excited and you decide you're going to go outside, like for a walk at like 1 or 2 p.m. You're going to notice it. You'll feel like, oh, I shouldn't be out. Like I should be back resting at my house. So that's definitely something that you want to keep in mind, is that you want to have a rest day on that Sunday and not have any plans, so that you can just really like rejuvenate through the process, because it's a lot of work for your body to do that. What else? So this is something that I haven't been doing, and I still didn't do it this time, even though like I noticed it. It's you know how life is, right? Like it gets busy. So anyway, you should be doing enemas after, like for a few days after, just to make sure that you got all the stones out, because you have folds in your colon, and they're you know, because of the shape of them, they can get caught in there, right? So you do want to do an enema for a couple days after. If you don't, you could also go see a colon therapist and get a colonic, which is like even more intensive. Like it's going to get even further into your colon to get things out. So that would be a great time to see a colon therapist as well. I feel like if I had booked a colon therapy appointment, I would have gone there, right? So yeah, if you feel like you're not going to be able to get yourself to do it, it would be a good idea to do that. So one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is because that's like theoretical, right? Like I knew that's part of the protocol this whole time, yet I still haven't done it. So, but then when I was doing some research into, you know, some of the different symptoms that I've been posting here in the group about the different symptoms of gallstones, one of the things that Andreas was saying is that if you have a beauty mark that, well, looks like a beauty mark, like a brown mark in between this part of your hand and finger, that's a sign not only of gallstones, but that you have one, or I don't know how many, in like stuck in your colon folds, right? So I was like, oh crap, because I have that mark there, right? So anyways, I gotta deal with that and actually do those enemas. Maybe I'll go see a colon therapist. So anyway, this is you know, been the process of learning that I'm going through. So you know, I don't remember if I had that there before, to be honest with you. Like I didn't look, right, until I was told to look. So I can't say 100% for sure, but I do have the mark that I need to do some more colon flushing. And of course, being someone with more of a tendency towards constipation, it would probably happen to me more likely than if you weren't that person. Let's say you tend towards diarrhea. Well, then you're probably not going to be having any stuck in your colon because you're flushing constantly. Okay, and that's not a good thing either. You don't want to have diarrhea. You want to have balance. So anyway, I think that's it. I can't think of anything else that you're going to need to know to do this, other than to make sure that you do it again in 3 to 4 weeks and keep going until you don't have any stones left to maintain your results. And yeah, does anybody have any question? I see a couple people here. Feel free to ask. Maybe I should also check to see if there's comments, because I don't know if it shows me from my phone view if there are questions. So I'm just going to go on my computer here. By the way, if anybody is interested in getting my protocol for doing it, I have a guidebook. So I basically simplified the whole process for you in a, 20 something page book versus the 400 page book that Andreas published that you can get on Amazon. I'll give you the link to that as well. And then I'm offering a group flush experience, which is basically for people who just kind of want to be guided through it and have their hand held while they're doing it virtually. So what I'm doing is doing a basically a signal group where anyone who is in the cleanse can be in the group, and I will give you like a play-by-play. So it'll be like, okay, so here's how to get prepared. And then here's Monday, here's we're starting. And then you can ask questions. And then on the Thursday night, I'm going to do a Zoom live Q&A call. So you can get any questions answered. And I'll just remind you of the process, and we'll go through the important parts of the protocol and the guidebook on the Thursday night. This is happening in September. I can't remember the exact dates. I think the Monday was a 2nd or something like that. So then the following weekend, it's after the long weekend. And then I'll just literally guide you. I'll be like, okay, it's 1 o'clock, stop eating. Okay. Oh, it's 5 o'clock. Take your drink or mix it this way or whatever. So it's not necessary. You can go get the guidebook for $27 and do it yourself. It's very step-by-step laid out in there. And I think comprehensive, definitely more comprehensive than the 400 page book. But I know some people don't want to be alone when they're doing it and want to have be part of a group experience and connecting with other people and hearing about what they're going through and, you know, connecting and then getting that step-by-step guidance. So that is also available. I'll put that link below. That'll be September 2nd weekend. Yeah. Okay, check in to see if there's any questions. Oh, I see lots of stars from Mariah. Awesome. Thank you. I don't even know, like, Facebook added me to this star thing. And, but also Facebook likes to suppress my stuff and won't let me use my business account whatsoever because I'm highly opinionated and I don't not say what I believe. And so I probably during COVID is when I got ixnayed. Yeah, so I can't even use, like, I can't use Facebook ads. But the weird thing is they like put me in the stars program. And then sometimes they tell me I'm not posting enough and I should post more. And then they'll like, I'll literally put a recipe for a healthy cookie and then it will get, censored. Like they'll like delete it. It's like crazy. Okay. All right, I don't see any questions here, guys. So hopefully that means I was very clear in all of the steps. But anyways, if you have questions and you're watching the replay, feel free to post them under this video and I'll just come back and answer them. Like I'll write the answer. Or if it's something I need to explain in more detail, I'll do a video. And yeah, if you have any questions at all, feel free to post them in this group. That's what I made it for. And yeah, if you're doing it by yourself, please post your results. And there's a way of posting in this group, like anonymously. So I think you'll see that. So I know because some people don't want to share their stones because they feel like embarrassed about it, which I totally understand. So you can still post because if you don't want to be seen and you post anonymously, you're really actually helping other people to encourage them. Even though, you know, your face is not seen, what you're saying is helping them and helping them feel confident that if you could do it, they could do it. All right, so that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.